Good evening, Rusty Mansell. Not normal. It is our Tuesday night. I would say SEC Championship special, National Signing Day special, a lot going on. But as always, Dawg Talk Live with Rusty Mansell, presented by Hotel Indigo in Athens. You can see right there, guys, visit indigoathens.com. By now, go by, stop by, see those guys, Barry, Brian, the whole team over there at Hotel Indigo in Athens. Want to thank you so much for being a presenting sponsor for this all season, and look forward to continuing to work with you guys. As everybody checks in right here, you know what to do. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're checking in tonight, and we're going to get to this thing. We're going to go to a quick thing right here of Hotel Indigo, as we always do. When you see these things, when you see that pop up, guys, it's a no-brainer now. Just stop by one day. Again, they do weddings, off-season parent weekends. Go by, book them, and talk to them about their packages for next season. As I think we're going to find out where Georgia, their schedule. I think we're going to find out a complete schedule pretty soon. Probably, I think, in the next 2 weeks, you're going to know Georgia's schedule for next year, and you'll know the home games and where you need to be on Friday and Saturdays. It's definitely Hotel Indigo. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get to it. Before we get into that, let's talk about Georgia Tech. I know some people want to ask questions. Let's get into that. And Georgia has a hard-fought game, wins there 16-9, just an absolute slobber knocker of a game. And, one of those games never really felt like Georgia was threatened, just never could run off and leave Georgia Tech. We'll say this, the defense played lights out, and they have been really good. I made a note on DawgsHQ tonight about some self-scouting I heard from some people I trust, I would say, within Georgia Tech's close circle. I asked them what they thought about Georgia, and I made that note over on DawgsHQ. You can go over there and check that out. By the way, real quick, if you're listening to this live or you're watching it tonight, you have until midnight to jump on the 50% off annual subscription. We won't do this again probably until next November, next December. You can get like $60 off an annual subscription. And a lot of people have joined. But if you want to do this, you got until midnight Eastern time to sign up. So everything that's going on, all the notes, all the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's there. But you look at this game, and obviously the question there is Gunnar Stockton. What was Gunnar Stockton? He was 11 of 21 for 70 yards passing, had an interception, just never really got into a rhythm, just didn't look himself. He looked like some of the Gunnar Stockton we saw earlier in the year, kind of indecisive, wouldn't drive the ball down the field. I'm not in panic mode with it. You kind of want to know what was going on there. Kind of wasn't the same after the interception. Then you lose Drew Bobo, and things just kind of come unraveled for the offense and just never really got clicking against a defense that had been giving up a lot of points. But at the end of the day, man, Georgia beats Georgia Tech, and you got to give a lot of credit to the defense. They played really good. They kept Haynes King in check. I think Haynes King had like 29, 30 yards rushing. And just never really – Georgia had him hemmed up all day long and gave him fits. And you got to credit Georgia's defense for that. Thought they played really well. They've been playing well the last couple of weeks, and that's good news for Georgia as they get into this SEC championship and as you get into this tournament run, basically what I call it, what Georgia's got about to face here. And didn't know this time last week if Georgia was going to be in the SEC championship or not. And Texas A&M takes a loss, and next thing you know, it almost was Georgia at Ole Miss. That would have really been wild. Could you imagine that? Would have really been wild. But it's wild, man. Let's talk a little bit about Alabama, and then we're going to talk about Sasha. How you doing from Douglasville? Thank you for being here. Let's talk a little bit about this Alabama game. Went back and watched Alabama-Georgia 2 times in the last 2 days. Watched the defensive series in the second half. And just a much better team. Here's what I'll say about this, guys. The record is the record. But, it's execution. These games are so tight, and there's so much going on. It always seems like Georgia, number one, they don't win the turnover battle, which is something they never – you always expect Georgia to win a turnover battle. They had a costly turnover there in the second quarter when Nate Frazier coughed one up, and it cost them 3 points. Defense held there, but ultimately you lost 24-21. Then you have a ball. You have a ball dropped by Talon Taylor, a young freshman. And, that would have been 7 points. So there's critical moments in each of these games, and for whatever reason, Georgia hasn't really capitalized on that. But other than that, I mean, Georgia's been in every game. They had a chance to win every one of those games, and certainly could have won them all. They have not. And people say, well, what they got to do? Last game has nothing to do with Saturday. Now, there'll be some stuff carried over scheme-wise that you know and what you anticipate and what worked well and what. But, you know, the thing there with this, in my opinion, is just be able to make the plays when you need it. And that's what's been really good about Georgia in games. People making plays, people stepping up and just converting and doing those things, little things to win games like that. I always say that about the Tennessee game. You know, I had a Tennessee buddy of mine text me and Jake Rowe, and he said, here's 4 things it cost Tennessee. And it was 4 plays. On the flip side of that, I hear a lot of that in the Georgia, you know, where here's 3 plays it costs that game. You got to make those plays, okay? And as simple as that. Georgia's got a good enough football team to win this SEC. They got another chance to win this thing on Saturday, and I certainly expect Georgia to be there and be ready to battle. It's going to be a hell of a football game Saturday at 4 o'clock. It's hard to believe. All the stuff, everything around it, here we are, Georgia and Alabama again in that building. So it's a big one, man. Kirby Smart, I know, would love to win this game, and, you know, for his team first and foremost, 100%, because these kids work hard year round. You want another conference championship, but to beat Alabama and to kind of get any type of momentum in this series would be huge for Georgia, because they haven't had it. And this is the one team, you know, you can just say what you want. There's always, when you bring up Georgia, it's like, hey, they won most national championships. They've done this, they've done that. But the Alabama series, got to find a way to win one. You got to finish them off when you got a chance. So we'll see on Saturday if what happens there. Let's talk about Jared Curtis. Everybody wants to talk about Jared Curtis. Okay, certainly get that. You know, a couple of things here I want to talk about that I do think he's going to Vanderbilt. And I made some notes a few minutes ago on DawgsHQ. If you want to go see that, I did confirm some information tonight, so I'll leave it there. But I will give you that I do think he's going to Vanderbilt. And it was a crazy day today with information, you know, getting out that he was going there. And the people that had that information were right on the decision. I think they're right. There's some difficulty there. Did he tell Georgia staff before and all that? I kind of made a note on DawgsHQ, so you can go there and kind of read all that behind the scenes stuff. So, look, at the end of the day, Georgia felt pretty good. Georgia continued to feel good. They obviously knew Vanderbilt was a threat and obviously took that seriously. And I think the last 2 weeks, it really picked up behind the scenes with this could be a real threat here. Georgia did not let up a bit. There was a lot of discussions this weekend. There was a lot of discussions in the last 36 hours. I can promise you that with this young man and his agent and people around him. And Georgia still felt like at the end of the day he was going to go to Georgia. Doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. When it gets down to this last minute, the last time, you got to tell one school no. And I would imagine that's hard to do. I haven't seen that situation. I've been around this for 20 years, basically, so I know. I've had a lot of kids talk about that moment when you have to call one of those other schools and say no. Eventually, you have to do that. There's been times where kids didn't call, but that's certainly Jared Curtis was going to call either one of these schools and confirm tonight that is taking place. So, anyway, want to get to it, man. Georgia's got a crazy class, another super talented class, trying to hold on here at the end, guys. And that's the way this world is, trying to hold on at the end and trying to finish this class off. Georgia's going to be very, very active in the portal, confident in that. What positions probably will be dictated by what they lose. I'm confident that they're going to be after a safety, definitely safety to me. They've got to get they're recruiting very talented high school players. And that's one of the ways they have sold these guys. There's a lot of opportunity there. But I think when you got a player like KJ Bolden beside this position, you're going to owe that defense every opportunity to go out and get a guy, to me, that has started maybe in this league, a guy that you have tape on that has played 2 or 3 years. If I'm a safety and I go in the portal and Georgia reaches out, I'm taking them serious from day one, because they just need to find that guy. right now and be ready for next year, not wait around. Like, they got to have a guy. And I think they'll find one. So I know you want to get to some questions and all those things. So we're going to be in here and out tonight. Let's get about 30 minutes. Guys, what do you think here? Get your questions in. We'll go ahead and get to that. And thank you guys for being here as well. This has been fun. Thank you for all the new members on DawgsHQ. Been pretty wild last couple of days. It'll be wild tomorrow, but it won't be like 2010 wild. Those sign days used to kill me. It's crazy. You see the Dogs making a sign day push for LaDamian Guyton. That is a 5-star out of Benedictine High School. The 2027 prospect that reclassified in 2026, committed to Texas Tech and verbally committed to Texas Tech. There's been communications the entire time with him. That's never really stopped. The one thing that I give a little hesitation to is he was expected to be in Athens multiple times during football season. He never showed. So, Georgia has recruited him enough. He has been on campus enough times. But it seems like Texas Tech is probably the landing spot there, and they'll probably hold on to him. But on the other side, you always never say never, and that Georgia has had some communication there in the last, I would say, week or so for sure with people around that one. Rusty, tell me I'm not overreacting to the Bobo injury. Drew Bobo is, guys, we will see an injury report tomorrow night. I'm not anticipating Drew Bobo playing this weekend. I'll just put that out there. And listen, I don't want to sugarcoat that. That kid has played as good as anybody this year. He's played at an all-conference level. And you just hate that happened, this late in the year. That, to me, was one of the key positions, man, that you could not lose because of how well he was playing and how much is involved. Now, I got this question all week. Do I think Malachi Tolliver can get it done? They don't have a choice. He's going to have to step up. And this is a kid that's got a lot of reps in practice. He's played a good bit. How about them playing him against Charleston with Drew Bobo set out because of the stitches were reapplied or redone, whatever you do it. From what I heard, he was getting extra time to heal on the stitches on his hand. And Malachi Tolliver played the whole game against Charleston. He comes in, plays, a half against Georgia Tech. Invaluable time. Georgia needs him, man. They need him to step up. He's got to really be that next man up. He doesn't have to be Drew Bobo, and I'm not going to say he has to be Drew Bobo right now because that would be unfair to him. But he's got to play his best. He's got to make a lot of calls. He's a very important piece to this puzzle Saturday. He'll have a big individual in front of him, number 96 there for Alabama. I went over and covered him in high school. One of the first players when COVID broke. I think it was one of the first games I went to over in Alabama because they started a week before Georgia. And I went over and watched him because Georgia was on him for a while. He's not a disruptive NFL first-rounder type, but he is a big body in the middle that Drew Bobo handled pretty good in that game. Tolliver's going to he'll have his hands full against Alabama there. Is it possible we'll see Jaden Wade reclassify to 2028? He might. Certainly now I would imagine those discussions will be there, for 2027. That is something that from what I've heard, IMG really don't want you to do that, but Dom Kelly did it, I think. A few guys have done it, and it can be done from there. So let's just say if that comes to mind, it can be done, and that would be good. That would settle a lot of things in that next class to have that young man take that spot. Still a lot of questions quarterback-wise now, obviously with Curtis probably ending up at Vanderbilt, but they got some guys in the room. They got some guys they like, and, with Georgia, it's been that deal, and I think a lot of that has to do with Jared Curtis and why he's not going to end up at Georgia is because the plan is quite honestly will be a lot more. He had to be a lot more patient, and didn't sound like that's what he wanted to do. So runs off the edge rather than between the tackles, given that Bobo's out. No, I don't think you have to change that because they're really good at guard. Those guys beside him, Glover and Michael Morris those guys move people. And, I don't know that Tolliver is going to have to be absolutely mauling people. He's just going to get the right protections called, get to second level, cut off angles. That's what Drew Bobo is so good at, getting to second level and Drew Bobo pulling. A lot of comparisons there with David Andrews at Georgia and former two-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. David would probably tell you he's not the most athletic guy, but he was one of the most instinctive players and tough as hell. So I think Drew Bobo has a lot of that. And so, it's not necessarily just mauling somebody. It's being where you need to be, good pass pro, and getting to the second level. Can you sell off that linebacker? Because that's what Drew Bobo was great at, getting to second level. Hey, Rusty, how does Georgia handle tomorrow? Is a concern with Georgia recruiting, especially if Fitzpatrick and Dean's are reasonably concerned about this class? Wyatt, good to have you tonight. Let me tell you something. If you haven't learned this now, you pay attention to everybody that's signing tomorrow. You know what I mean? I feel good. Georgia should serve tomorrow, but you watch this all the way to the end, because now there's financial terms, and if somebody's sitting on a late offer, and who knows if somebody throws a major crazy offer at somebody late tonight and gets a flip, it's going to happen somewhere in the country. It may not happen to Georgia, but you're going to see one or two tomorrow. You're going to be like, wow, did not see that coming. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be Georgia, but there's going to be some offers tomorrow on some kids that you're going to see one or two flips. It's going to be, I would say, head shakers. So we'll see. Rusty, what's your evaluation on Oliver 51? So that's Malachi Tolliver and Cortez Smith. Definitely Malachi Tolliver is more ready to play right now. Cortez Smith's a true freshman. He's young. I think he's still 17 years old. Great young player out of Parkview. I think Georgia's done a good job with him, but he's a little bit banged up. But it's definitely Malachi Tolliver right now. I mean, that's the guy, second season, and he's a guy that has had a lot of practice. And, it's his time, man. You got to step up. You got to be there for Georgia. They need you this weekend. It might need you the rest of the way out. But 51's got a great opportunity to solidify himself playing time. My man checking in from Oregon. Any chance we slide Glover to center and start one at guard? Not right now. You just can't slide a true freshman. Glover's a true freshman. And sliding him over, I don't think that's going to be an option this time right now. I think Tolliver did. My producer texted me. I think Tolliver did start against Charlotte, right? Is that what he started against Charlotte? What I meant, if I said Charleston, sorry, but it was Charlotte. But I don't think you slide Glover. Now, if he's out long term and you don't get a great sample size this weekend, that's what those next 2 or 3 weeks in practice decide what you're going to do there. They're going to have to make sure, they're going to have to feel, to me, even if Tolliver plays well, they're going to have to say, okay, Cortez Smith is the answer. If we have to play Ohio State, if we have to play whoever, is he our number 2 guy? Because it's a young kid. It's a very young kid. But we'll see how that goes. Did Georgia up the price on Curtis anytime recently? I probably, maybe a little bit. I don't think that. Listen, guys, I don't think money was the factor. I really don't. I'm confident that Georgia had a really good offer out there. Had it been about money and money only, he'd have been in Oregon. Because I can tell you that Oregon, I'd be confident in saying that Oregon offered him more than Georgia and Vanderbilt, probably a good bit. And they knew they had to get him on the West Coast. I think at the end of the day, staying in the city he's living in, the path is much easier to have an opportunity to start. And end of the day, that was I do think that was one of the determining factors. And, there was a lot of pro Georgia people in his circle, and there still were. And his mom made it clear, but his mom wasn't the only one. Okay. So for him to make that decision, and that's, I'm not his parent and I'm not him. So he has every right to make whatever decision he wants. So, but I think that at the end of the day, Jared felt like he could start at Vanderbilt and probably didn't think he could at Georgia. What you think Georgia's going to do in the SEC championship game? I talked about that a little bit earlier. I think Georgia got a great chance to win this. They just have to finish. Like again, I said, it comes down to 2 or 3 plays, man. It comes down to 2 or 3 plays. It seems like every time, and a turnover, a costly turnover, something silly, a missed block, a drop ball. I mean, all those things matter in a game like this, and it's not really the sample size you're used to out of Georgia, but for whatever reason in this game, it's been that way. But Georgia certainly can win this game. They are a favorite in Vegas, I think, 1.5, which means it's razor thin. But you just have to know. You just have to know you got to finish things off. And I'm sure that Kirby message has been this week to execute. That is the message. Get this stuff done on the field. They know they got enough team, good enough team to beat Alabama, and we'll see. Are there any quarterbacks in Georgia for this class the Dogs can get? I don't think so. I don't think Georgia has to panic there because, guys, you don't remember they signed 2 last year, and they like these guys now. I mean, neither one of them kind of ready to play, but I don't think either one of them have disappointed. Ryan Montgomery's coming off an ACL, but they feel good about him. You still got Ryan Puglisi in there who knew from the start he was going to have to wait his turn. And, I get asked a lot, will Ryan Puglisi stay? I think today's decision made that a lot easier for him, but I don't think that Ryan Puglisi is scared of competition. It's going to be, does he think he's the guy probably after Gunner? And if I wait one more year, I've waited this long, wait one more, and likely will be the front runner for that job. So I don't know that Georgia has to really do that. Now, Jared Curtis flipping late did cost them an opportunity probably at some other highly rated guys that they did not go all in on because they have been – if you guys, you remember, this has been a 2-year recruitment. Jared Curtis, I felt like was going to Ohio State at one time. The first time I went to Nashville and talked to people at that school, including the coach, everybody thought he was going to Ohio State. And then Georgia, Mike Bobo, credit him. He got that thing turned. And then he decommits, and you get into a battle with Georgia and Oregon, and they won that again. So they've been all in on this kid. This is not good for them late. But to answer that question, I don't think they're going to offer anybody in high school for sure. It'd be real interested in the portal how that goes. Hearing Ryan Williams for Alabama won't play the rest of the season. I have not heard that. Whatever reason now, he did not. He was not a big factor the other night. Hasn't been. He's been inconsistent, man. He had a drop. He dropped a touchdown pass against Georgia too. He dropped one wide open, I think on the second drive. So he's been a little inconsistent this year. Not saying I'm the Alabama expert, but he hasn't been anywhere near he was as a freshman. But I haven't heard he's sitting out the rest of the year. I have not. CJ Allen, man, he played last week, played a lot. I'll be honest with you. I was on the sideline and I put that tweet out and that thing. I text Jake Rowe from the field. I said, Jake, this dude's playing. And I talked to some people afterwards. I said, how long did y'all know this guy was playing? And they basically said, look, he came out Monday and did some things. And then he came out Tuesday and they were like, oh boy, he's got a chance. And as the week went on, he got better and better. Adrenaline's flowing. That's crazy. I don't know exactly the procedure. He had some type of minor surgery. Don't know all the details. But I talked to Raylan Wilson after the game. We were leaving at the same time. And I looked at Raylan and I said, what in the heck did CJ Allen put in his body to get ready? He started laughing. He goes, man, this guy has been rehabbing all day, every day, twice a day. It doesn't surprise me. So, yeah, I certainly expect him to play this week. Mm-hmm. And he got another couple of days to rest, so that'll help. Did Georgia Jermaine Mitchell look to elsewhere? You talking about the JUCO offensive tackle? He, let's just say this. He was committed to Georgia until Arizona State came calling yesterday. And I made a note on DawgsHQ. And you can put 2 and 2 together there. He is going to Arizona State for a lot of reasons, and Georgia might again look in the portal in January, but I don't think it's quite what I would say. I feel good. Monroe Freeland's coming back. We've made notes on that. DawgsHQ. Jake Rose made notes on that. Ernest Green seems to be playing better. I know he was dealing with some family things, and I think Ernest Green should come back. And like Jake Rowe told me today, so Rusty, he comes back, loses 20 pounds. He should come back. But they got one, Gaston, 2 that can play tackle. I think they're fine there. but I do think they will probably look and see if they can pick up somebody at tackle in the portal. Cuevas, I don't know yet. I don't know. So tomorrow night we will get a injury report. So we'll see what Alabama says. Don't know that yet. I don't know how much Alabama. I found out some of these guys. I know it shocks you. I'm not real sure how truthful all these injury reports are, but we'll see tomorrow night, and we'll pay attention more to that as the week goes on. Our Alabama site's pretty plugged in over at Bama Online, and we'll see their notes and see what they think. Is Talon Taylor playing this weekend? He's available now. What role he has, and what I call tagged, what are pass plays to him. He was tagged on that play that he dropped, and it is what it is. But they like him a lot, man, and he's worked his tail off to get back. I do think he's going to be available to play. How much he plays, I don't know, kind of what they're going to do to him. It's a young guy that's coming back after several weeks off, but he will be available the rest of the year. Yep. Kelly, I feel good. I mean, let me just speak for it from a Georgia side of it. Not fearful. You just have to execute. Again, I've said it many times. You just have to finish plays. And for whatever reason, against this team, you have not. I think both the rosters are very similar. And you just got to execute and make plays when you're there. And Georgia has it. Georgia has against everybody else. I mean, they have play teams that, the Texas and the Ole Misses and all these teams with good rosters. And, Georgia played Auburn at night too, and they finished it off, and Alabama had to hold on, so there's no reason to be scared of them, and I don't think Georgia is at all. It's just for whatever reason, it's been 2 or 3 plays each game and turnovers. You can't turn the freaking ball over, and you gotta take advantage when you can. Yeah, C.J. Allen played 34 snaps. You see my producer stepping in there and being on top of that. He played a lot, played a ton of snaps. Mm-hmm. Yep, ton of plays there. This has to be our worst recruiting class in the smart era, right? I don't know how you define that. What was the class they signed, like 2019? They had like 10 guys transfer out that were all 4 and 5 stars. I don't think you really get a final judgment until a couple years from now, where that is. But Georgia should finish top 5. And, you want to finish number 1, but you just got to keep stacking your roster. And now in this world too, you want to get the guys that answer your questions, and then you want to hit in the portal too. That's a big deal. You want to hit in the portal on those pieces. Like, for instance, Georgia added 10 guys last year. You look at Noah Thomas and Zach Branch, all those guys. They had a pretty dadgum good portal season last year, and those guys are helping. Rusty with the Dogs and Bama's D and O pretty much the same efficiency-wise. The only advantage I see we have is rushing our special teams. Yeah, they ran the ball great against them with 227 yards last time, and Chauncey Bowens had the best game he's ever had. And I forgot about that when I watched special teams. Yep, you should be at least even or not better there. But Georgia ran the ball really good against them, and I went back and watched some of that. And I will say this, Juan Gaston, they had Bo Hughley had to play a lot that game. Ernest Green was hurt. So you're going to add a good run blocker in Green. And you look at those freshmen, Glover and Gaston, they played in big-time games now. So you feel like that's one thing I'll say from Alabama's side, almost the same way as Georgia. They don't have that elite alpha pass rusher. They're tough up front, LT Overton, 22, the kid out of Milton who went Texas A&M, transferred over. He's hard to deal with, and he's the one that wrecked the 4th down play, in the last game. But they don't have a true alpha Will Anderson, type guy that Georgia didn't have. That Nolan Smith type guy right now. You got to manufacture and be creative. So that's kind of what they're facing there. Should be concerned about Georgia's offense going forward. Saturday was rough. if they have another performance like that, you better sound the alarms because they're going to get in the playoffs, and that would be 2 games in a row of not that. I don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. I expect Gunner to come out. I expect Georgia to be dialed in and have some things, and I think those guys be ready. I really do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aguero's going to play. They'll mix it up a little bit, but I went back and watched this today. Aguero played a good bit there. I went after him a couple of times in coverage, but nothing crazy. Everett, with these wide receivers, they've got a couple. So, and I'll say this too. The second half of that Alabama game was the game that Georgia did DeMello Jones. That's when DeMello Jones came out. And did what got himself into playing time. Mm-hmm. No. Matter of fact, somebody just texted me, and I think Jared Curtis just tweeted out that he is committed to Vanderbilt. So those questions are out, and nothing surprising there. And you go on about your business. You go on about it. And the one thing I've learned in all this, knowing a lot of coaches, yes, it's frustrating, and you got a lot of time into it. But man, when it happens, you got to go on. You got to keep moving forward. And, you think about that, a lot of phone calls, and they're probably sitting around thinking about the kids that they turned away tonight, going all in. But you have to make big boy decisions, and Georgia's been right more times than been wrong on the quarterback calls and those types of things. So got to trust the staff a little bit right here and see what they can do. But listen, they got a big season to finish off right now, and we'll concentrate on that. Well, which current playoff team do you think would give Georgia the best challenge? Until somebody knocks them off, I'm going to say Ohio State. And I was impressed with Julian Sayin the other day to be a young player. They've got wide receivers. They're fast on defense. That's only the second time I've seen Michigan kind of beat up. I saw Georgia beat them up in the Orange Bowl pretty good. But for better part of 3 quarters, Michigan got it handed to them, in my opinion, by Ohio State physically. And I think until somebody dethrones or knocks Ohio State out, that would be the team I think is the biggest challenge. Rusty, you think Kirby would take Raiola out of Portland? No, I don't. Dylan Raiola is not what Georgia needs. Can't move. Hasn't played great. He's got a big arm and sometimes does some things, but not in this league, man. You can't do. And I'll say this: when you go back to Jared Curtis, Jared Curtis is an athletic dude now. He's 230 pounds. He can move. I will say that for him. That guy can move. He's got a big arm. Raiola's got a big arm, but Raiola can't move to me. And that's he should have no part of this league for me. I don't know where he's going to end up. A lot of people saying rumors of Texas Tech. Somebody said he's trying to go to Indiana. I don't know what's going to happen there, but he's not going to end up in Georgia. No. I don't do percentages if you know me, but I feel like Georgia's in a great chance there with Quentin Cypher, the linebacker out of North Carolina. Got a chance to see him this summer at an event down in Miami, in South Florida, and I was impressed with him too. Big kid. Glenn Schumann has been locked in there. Even though it is the next cycle, that's a guy that I think Georgia is really good. Got a good chance right there on him. North Carolina's been good to Georgia for sure. Let's get 3 more. Does our 2-minute offense worry you? Seems like we really struggle to hurry up and can't take advantage of our timeouts to save time to score. If you have any gripes, and I hear it from people, sometimes I sit beside Jake Rowe. Jake Rowe, he's coached before. And the end of halves, really, people are a lot of opinionated on Georgia and how they use that time and, save timeouts. I think Kirby even admitted this week he should have called a timeout a lot earlier than he did. They're late in the half. But one thing I've learned, when Georgia knows they're going to get the ball to start the second half, they go what I would say clock protect. They try to run it. They try to run the entire thing out and then get at least 3. I would love to see them try to get 7 more. but that's just being picky. That's just being picky. And, I don't make $13 million a year to decide that, but that's kind of a lot of history now. If Kirby he knows he's getting the first possession of the second half, they'll try to run the clock completely out. Mm-hmm. Kyron Jones, haven't heard anything. That's one of those deals where it's not really clear 100% what's going on, to be honest with you. I don't know either. It's kind of like you hear he practices and then he's not ready. So I really don't know what's going on until he plays again. I don't know how to answer that. You know what I mean? Like what's going on there. If he's questionable tomorrow night on the injury report, we'll see. But, we have been told he was close, but hasn't played. I don't know what Kirby's class ranking, the worst one is. Would it be the first year? I don't know. I don't know what it is. To be honest with you, this is a hell of a class now. Losing Curtis at the end takes a huge dent out of it because you lose a 5-star and you know how that rankings goes. But I'll tell you this. I've seen Jared Curtis. I think Jared Curtis is going to be a really good player. Now, how he develops is going to be another question. But the guy's got all the tools. But I say this about quarterback. An entire organization spent 4 or 5 months, hundreds of scouts, NFL coaches, took Zach Wilson, number 2. One of the best offensive gurus in America in the NFL from the 49ers. They spent an entire offseason, hundreds of scouts, multiple coaches, and what people consider as an offensive guru. They traded up to get Trey Lance, number 3. And neither one of those guys could make a dent in NFL. So that quarterback stuff sometimes, there's no science to it. You just got to hope and trust you get the right one and you can get those guys developed. But, yeah, I can tell you this, Georgia's got it. They'll have, if Georgia holds serve, they're going to have a hell of a class tomorrow. Big guys, linebackers, finishing up, some DBs, definitely what they need. Wide receivers, in-state wide receivers, I don't think it's got enough attention. Really like that. Let's get one more. We'll lose any key guys to the portal. We have the last couple of years. I mean, Damon Wilson's the one last year that you really would love to have, and they don't. They tried to keep him and just couldn't. And but I don't know. Key guys, I think the room to watch is the offensive line room. I think because you got so many young players. If guys, technically, you could have all 5. You could have top 6 guys coming back because Michael Morris is gone, but Freeland, Gadsden, Drew Bobo, Donnie Glover, Ernest Green. You can have all those guys back, and I would imagine there's going to be a lot of conversation with people trying to get those second guys, those Georgia offensive linemen in that portal. We'll see. That's the room I want to watch. Is the offensive line room. What do they lose? Because they've got quality depth there. They really do. They got quality depth there. But we'll see. Listen, guys, Dawg Talk Live, man. Hotel Indigo, presenting sponsor. National Signing Day tomorrow. Georgia plays Alabama Saturday. We got a lot more coming. A lot of you guys subscribe to our DawgsHQ Plus. Talk with Jake Rowe tonight. We're going to do this. We're going to wait till later in the week. I told Jake, let's wait till maybe Friday and do one. We can get the entire week. Go through signing day, all this, put together some notes. I think that DawgsHQ Plus will be awesome there. But for this, though, man, appreciate everybody being here. It's a huge week, man. National Sign Day tomorrow. And I'll tell you this, the last thing I'll tell you, everything you've been through and everything you have seen the last 2 weeks with coaching, flips, Georgia losing a 5-star tonight, all these things. We'll say this. There's not a better time to be a Georgia football fan. I promise you. These are the glory days. And you got a head coach that this is his dream job, and this guy works nonstop, recruiting, coaching, and he takes some pride in this team. And this guy's the right guy for Georgia, and just appreciate it because it won't always be this way. But right now, this is some of the best times ever at Georgia. And they're not done winning titles. I can guarantee you they got a chance to win another one on Saturday. So enjoy it. Thank you guys for being at DawgsHQ listening. If you're listening to this tonight, if you're consuming this on Tuesday night, you got about 4 hours left to come over and take 50% off annual subscription. Promise you, Just come try it once and you'll be good. That's all I ask, one time. But for Rusty Mansell on Dawg Talk Live tonight, appreciate you. Appreciate Hotel Indigo. And thank you guys for being here.